Great first day. It was awesome. The excitement started this morning with meetings, and then walkthroughs, and then more meetings, and then a good practice out there in the heat today. I appreciate the guys' excitement. You get a sense of how prideful they are, or how excited they are for the season and to begin training camp. Day one is always going to have its ups and downs, some good, some bad, and some ugly. But I was just pleased with the overall effort and the excitement of the guys. Obviously, there'll be 1,000 details to clean up after we watch film, and that's expected day one. Obviously, we have to make improvements going to day two. But it's good to get out there and put in the work, in all three phases of the game, and excited. I mean, look, 31 days away from the first game. We're not going to be a perfect product today, but we're working towards that every single day and hope to see improvement, but pleased with the effort today.
Ryan, big picture-wise, going into this fall camp, what are some of the key things that you are looking to clean up specifically?
Yeah, I think last year one of our biggest issues on offense was turnovers. We had some of those slumps in games, whether it's picks, fumbles. Those are the things on offense we got to clean up. Want to see more improved and steady gains in the run game. I think last year we started off strong. Obviously, we had some injuries, and the run game's got to be more consistent throughout the season. We can't go a game where we run for 200 and the next game run for 20. So the consistency in there, obviously we're going to get new targets. We talked about that on offense, right? With the absence of Sean Dykes and Calvin Austin, all you guys have asked, how are you going to replace them? We don't necessarily replace them, but I really like the depth at those other positions that we're going to be there. So that's what we want to see offensively. Obviously, special teams, we got to improve our kicking game. Let's make no bones about it. Our field goals and extra points weren't where they need to be, and that's got to improve. And then some of our coverage units, obviously, that's going to be a everyday deal that you got to be great on. And then, defensively, a new scheme. And so I think that's one of those things you want to see. You're going to see some wrinkles here and there, some great flashes. Some guys are going to make some mistakes because of it's a new scheme, right? Some guys in different positions. We got some new faces there. We also have some vets, and so I think to be able to see them fly around. But as they continue to learn that scheme, it's great to have it in spring. It's great to go through some of the summer installs and OTAs, but then to actually go live in training camp and get after it a little bit. It'll be great to see the incremental increases and improvement of our defense every single day.
And then on the turnovers, the defense at the end of the year, they ended with some good turnover
Yeah.
numbers. Do you harp on that, or does that kind of take care of itself if you take care of your side?
Absolutely. Coach Barnes does a great job. Anybody that's ever sat in one of his meetings, his energy and excitement, he talks about it, right? Attacking the offenses and going and getting takeaways, right? Whether it's strip sacks, punching out the ball or going and high pointing the ball and, kicking the ball and going and getting interception. So we harp on it every single day. We make, clips of it showing good effort plays where those interceptions, where those turnovers occur by a defensive side. So constantly harp on it. We harp it on all three phases to make sure, right, own the ball, take away the ball.
Little picture-wise, offensive line, they were great with pass protection and giving your quarterback some time, but not so great on run. How do you get that balance up so they're great and consistently running, deep blocking, and pass blocking?
Yeah, and I'll be the first to say, right, the run game always starts up front with the offensive line. But I think improvements at the tight end position with the blocking, wide receivers blocking on the perimeter, and then the running backs. So it contains everybody, right? I was always one of those. If the offensive line was bad when I was the O-line coach, it was always bad, and I took the blame. But no different. It involves everybody. But, yes, the offensive line has to be more consistent. And I think, last year, Austin Myers, starting left tackle the first 3 games, breaks his leg, goes out. We have to move Jonah Gamble to left tackle, rotating guys around. I think being able to find 5 guys that you mesh with. Now, going in, just like in the NFL, you need to have at least 7 that you can trust, right? Hey, do we have a rotational inside guy and rotational tackle? I would love to end fall camp with 9 guys we trust. But just improvements in the run game got to be seen, right? Another year in the system, understanding what we want to do, trusting our tracks as running backs. I think that will all coincide and hopefully develop a better, consistent run game.
When you compare this to previous camps that you've started here, do you feel like there are more jobs up for grabs than usual, or how would you describe sort of the competition, like in terms of fielding a starting lineup for that Mississippi State game? Do you feel like there are more unknowns than usual?
Yeah, I think you go in last year, right, and you say, well, Sean Dykes is a starting tight end. Calvin Austin's a starting wide receiver, right? You knew certain guys at certain positions, right? We did have a toss-up at the quarterback position last year, right? That was a competition that we through and through. But what I tell our guys all the time, pretty much every job is open. And that's the reality of college football. And 33% roster turnover, I was talking to Jeff about that the other night, that's college football. And so there's going to be new faces. So anybody you bring in, whether it's a true freshman, right, maybe it's a sophomore that developed, he's ready to challenge for that job finally going into his junior year. But as we do all those things, whether it's a kid that's transferring, yes, every job's up for grabs. Any more so than the common year, I wouldn't say so. But, look, I tell our guys, there's going to be a guy that started for us last year that you guys are going to have on your tier deep in game one, going to go out there and say, wait, what happened? And then he may be on the bench. And that's what you want. I think competition brings out the best, right? They always say the cream rises to the top. We're going to challenge and push them. Obviously, we hope we stay healthy, so those aren't issues. But I love when the guys work and challenge each other to compete.
How much better can Seth be this year? How much better can Seth be?
It's tremendously. I mean, you go back and watch. Look, Seth had a fantastic freshman year, but I always say this, right? The records are generally on the head coach and the quarterback, and 6-6 isn't good enough for any of us. And Seth will be the first one to tell you. You can go back and watch his game film, and there's so many things that are correctable. And what I appreciate about him, he has a coachable mentality. Yes, I can be better here. I can be better here. And I also think, like I said, with Seth, another year in the system, you feel more comfortable. He's a super intelligent young man, right? He has a great grasp of this offense. But he's still learning it, right? Every year, every game last year, he's seeing something new. And then he was saying, okay, I know this play, this is my read, this is my read, this is my read. And maybe that thought process may have been slowing down. We also talked about how much is he going just to Calvin Austin and Sean Dykes because those are reliable receivers. I think now Seth is able to sit back. He feels really comfortable with this offense and go, okay, I can go through my reads. I can be more comfortable in the pocket. He's put on good weight. I mean, his body looks awesome. He's about 205 of muscle. And he'll tell you he's more muscle. I still think he needs to get a little bit stronger, almost as me. As he's over there smiling. But I think Seth can take huge steps. And I always say from that true year, that freshman year to that sophomore year are going to be massive. Just like with any quarterback. You look at rookies in the NFL, and I'm not comparing Seth to Troy Aikman by any stretch. You look at Troy Aikman's true rookie year, awful. Can he play football? And then the next year, wow, this guy's really special. And I think Seth obviously had a special freshman year, and the sky's the limit for him. He knows with the standard of our program what we expect from our quarterbacks. He's going to be the leader of this offense, and we're going to put a lot on him.
Brian, on that note, what's the thing we recruit him? I mean, in other words, give him a mixture of throws.
No, Seth and I talked a lot in this offseason. I think him and I have had a great relationship. Hopefully he'd tell you the same. We talked almost every other day in the offseason, whether it was a text, a call. Obviously, with the change of offensive coordinator, he was actually the very first person I called, was Seth, and then talked to his dad. And Seth's, a lot like Brady White, like calm, cool, and collect. Coach, I got you. We're in this thing together. Let's roll. And that's what I appreciate about him is, him and I have had great conversation. That's the reality of being a good quarterback this year, right? I'm sure other people may have reached out to him, but he believes in the system. I think he believes in me. He believes in this university, this program. He believes in his brothers. He's here. He wants to be here. His goal in mind is go compete a championship. He's got to graduate from the University of Memphis and then hopefully have a illustrious career after that.
Ryan, what's the biggest difference you see in him from this time last year? Is it something on the field or the way he carries himself in the locker room? What do you see there?
Well, I think he's gained more confidence. And for a quarterback, right, going on the age of 18 to 19, a freshman to a sophomore, that confidence, right, not only is his body developed, but the understanding and complete feel for our offense has allowed him, I think, to play a little bit faster. And now he can go up to a wide receiver and say, no, that's not where you're supposed to line up, right? Or, hey, tight end, let's shift you over here. Let's check this protection because he see things a little bit better. And that confidence allows him to go out there and be a little bit of a leader, which allows him sometimes to play faster, to put us in the right spots as an offense.
A lot of talk about Seth. What's your comfort level with the rest of it?
Absolutely. Ryan Glover, we bought in to compete. And Ryan's, he wasn't here this spring. So obviously a fantastically intelligent young man, right? Wharton School of Business grad from Penn. So second to where you went to school. But absolutely. But, he's an intelligent young man. So he's grasped the offense pretty good. Now it's going out there in the live bullets. So today he did some really great things, but there'll be a lot to clean up. And so we're going to push Ryan to challenge him. No different. I mean, we like our true freshmen, right? J.C. French and Tevin Carter. I mean, let's throw them in the mix. I think you guys saw Tevin's arm strength and athletic ability in the spring game a little bit. Now, that's got to correlate every single day to the practice field, but we're going to throw everybody out there. We also have Hunter Helsley, is another quarterback that's been in the system. So all those guys, we want to see their continued challenge, and Seth knows that. Nothing's going to be handed to him. Nothing's going to be given.
Ryan, I know you have your receivers you have, but looking at your running backs, are you guys anticipating getting a running back like Asa Martin in the passing game and things of that nature?
Yeah, look, I've said it all along, right? We were too much running back by committee last year. And you can sit there and say, Ryan, you got a ton of great running backs, right? You got 6 that should be able to play. And where do they all step up, right? Through 3 games, Brandon Thomas was leading the country in rushing, right? And then he got hurt. And everybody said, well, your run game went down. Yeah, absolutely. And that's no knock. We just got to be better on certain things. But a guy like Asa Martin, we've seen as the season's going on, you guys always say later in the season, man, Asa is stepping up. Well, what he's really picked up is third down role, right? He's really smart young man that can be great in protections, great in the passing game. So Asa is one of those guys that may have a third down role. Marcavius Weaver, right, who started versus Navy a couple years ago for us, right? He's been a short yardage back, a fullback, right? We expect to see some more of him in the passing game. As Drake Clark and Brandon Thomas continue to feel more comfortable with protections, maybe they can be more third down guys. So I think that's part of what training camp goes, see what assets they have. A name that some of you guys have asked about, and Darius Coffey. Now, he's a guy with a unique skill set, was a quarterback in high school, came here, we moved him to corner, moved him to running back. He showed some flashes last spring, but I think he's a guy to keep an eye on as well.
You know, Memphis has a reputation of weapons. You kind of lost it a little bit last year with just having a pure wide receiver. Any candidates for weapon?
I'll tell you what, if you can just give me a Calvin Austin every year and just say that's all you had as a weapon, I'll take that every day of the week. So, yes, we had an elite receiver. We did not have a first-round running back, but
Right.
You're exactly right. I think we have high expectations for Javon Ivory. I think Gabe Rogers, we've seen flashes of. You guys remember Gabe Rogers returned a kickoff a couple years ago versus Navy. He has an elite skill set as a guy that we can expect. You know, Brandon Thomas is not going to sit there and run a 4.3 40, but I like to see Brandon Thomas's physicality, right? You get to see Drew Clark sometimes in those fourth quarters. So it may not be, the Kenny Gainwells, the Antonio Gibsons of the world. I don't know if right now you can sit there and say, hey, we have a third-round running back or a third-round receiver, but that's our goal. That's not necessarily the plan. Who can get out there and play consistently at a high level?
Now, Coach, with so much talk about the offense, who are you expecting to step up as a leader on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, look, first and foremost, our biggest leader on our entire team is Quindell Johnson. Let's make no bones about it. He is a leader, obviously a National Football Foundation academic scholar for the city of Memphis. Just so proud of him. I mean, everything. He's a nominee for the William Campbell Trophy Award winner, which we know Brady White once held. Just Quindell emulates everything you want in a student athlete. I mean, he does more community service than most of the team. He's a fantastic, right? 2-time second team all-conference player. So Quindell, he walks the walk, he talks the talk, he does it all, right? He's a guy that I'm just so proud of, and he plays an excellent level of football. He's a leader, right? We want to continue to see leadership from Zay Collins, right? We got Rodney Owens, who has done some leadership things. We added 2 linebackers in Jeff Canton and Tyler Murray. I think as they feel more comfortable in this defense, we'll see some leadership. Ward Dallas Ducksworth, the DN that's played here a lot. And then also challenging a guy like Greg Rubin, who started as a true freshman for us. And sometimes it's a lot to put on a sophomore, but we're putting the same on our quarterback is, hey, Greg, you've earned that right to lead a little bit and push those guys. So let's keep heading that right direction. But we got plenty of leaders on defense, and I like the depth that we have there.
Having 2 new coordinators coming in, like how does that change, I guess, the tenor of the off season, change just the vibe coming into camp when it's 2 new guys calling the plays on each side of the
Yeah, let's start just with today. I think there's excitement. I think there's an appreciation for it. And we had great coordinators in the past. I mean, I loved our 2 coordinators in the past, but the 2 new ones we're so excited about. And I think our players sense their energy, their excitement to be here. It's a fresh new deal. Sometimes right after 2 years, get new coordinators and let's roll. And I think our guys get that. Plus, what it also believes is, maybe a guy's a little bit more attentive in the players. Hey, it may sound a little bit different. So maybe he uses this word rather than that word. Obviously, with a new defensive scheme, a new sense of energy. So now maybe guys are week 4 of the install of hearing it over and over. Now it's, oh, wait, I heard something new, or this is a new clip. Now I get to watch Ohio State run this play. Or, hey, here's that, the all-conference running back at Marshall running the play. Now all of a sudden I can put it in my own way and see those things. But also, it's no different, right? I think in college football there's 467 assistant coaches that change jobs in Division I football. And I talk about this all the time. We talk about roster turnover of players, right? We lost 2 coordinators and a position coach. That's 3 coaches out of the 11, or the 10 position, if you will. And that's maybe less than average. That's not that many. But guess what? The culture always has to be remembered. We have to talk about, not to sound corny again, my soapbox, I have to preach what all in means. We have to talk about the standards of our program. We have to constantly say, this is why we do things. Oh, by the way, here's the practice schedule. Here's what this looks like. Hey, by the way, media will be out here for the first 3 periods. Things that, normally you just don't have to, you got to teach over and over to everybody in your program.
Coach, year 3 for you. What have you learned? Ryan Silverfield, year 1 for year 2. What have you kind of learned from the 2 years kind of put on to your tool bag for year 3?
Yeah, well, first, Devin, the main thing about college football is the only constant is change. I mean, you guys know this since the day I got the job and coaching the Cotton Bowl. Really, college football has almost been flipped upside down, right, with the transfer portal, with NIL, even the COVID year. So there's a lot to be learned, and every day I'm learning something else. I've tried to have patience because every day there's going to be something that occurs, right? It may be a player, it may be a coach, it may be something that I've got to handle. And that's okay. And so the reality is, how do I handle those situations? You learn. Now there's so many new things or developments that are occurring in our world, right? You guys will ask about conference realignment, NIL, all these other things. And I can control what I control. But the best thing I can do is constantly learn that this whole time it's about the relationships with the players. And if we continue to pour into these players the right way and push them and challenge them to be better in all aspects of their life, we'll win a damn championship here.
knock on wood, it seems like COVID won't affect this season as much as the last two. If that is true, it's never easy, but how much easier does that make your life?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously I'm never going to make light of it because it's a reality. It is still occurring in our world, in our society. And if anybody knows it, it's me, given my relations with certain people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to have a direct impact on a day-to-day of college football as of right now. Obviously, knock on wood that we continue to say, no matter what it is, that the health and safety of our student athletes will always come number one. But I won't sit here and say it's not nice not to come in and get something shoved up our nose every couple of days and then to get tested and contact tracing. I mean, I remember we came out here 2 years ago. We were social distancing practice, and I was an offensive lineman, you were a defensive lineman 5 yards away, and we were practicing pass rushers. So it's certainly a little bit easier in that regard, but guess what? There'll be other challenges that continue to come with college football.
Coach, how much does the intensity just have to step up as you go into the fall and prepare for September 3rd?
Absolutely. Well, I hope every day is like 4th and 1 here with our darn hair on fire, right? 4th and 1, Super Bowl on the line. Let's go. But I do think there's a sense of urgency, a sense of intensity by our players. They get it. And whether it's the inflection of my voice, it's whether the intensity, knowing, hey, we got to count down our head before when the first game is. I think the players sense that, and I get it. Obviously, we want that. I don't care if it's practice spring one or if it's an OTA or if it's first day of winter conditioning. We want them to have that sense of urgency, the understanding that every day is important, no wasted reps. But I do think, right, maybe the hair was up, a little bit of goosebumps today as we're running out and taking the field for the first practice. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.